Brian Flores, a little bit out of nowhere, is going to file a class action lawsuit, literally chose violence with the league for having racially discriminatory hiring practices. We've heard things about the Rooney Rule, tried to sweeten it up with draft picks. And now he even has text messages proving that the Giants interview was only to satisfy that said Rooney Rule, and as well as proof of offers from the Dolphins ownership to tank football games. And we had a lot of tank for Tua talk when Flores first came in. You can see some of the text there on the screen, and this is just absolutely demeaning. I mean, whatever chance that Flores might or might not have in this situation, Fees, I got to ask, how big of a case does he have against the NFL, and what do you realistically see happening in this situation?
Brian Flores has a monster case against the NFL. I mean, y'all looked at the text messages that he had between him and Bill Belichick, and for all the, it's New England, there's nothing there implicating Bill Belichick or the New England Patriots. The Bill Belichick text messages are receipts and proof that the New York Giants had already decided who they were hiring before they actually interviewed Brian Flores. Because those Bill Belichick text messages came before Brian Flores actually had an interview, because Belichick thought that he was talking to Brian Dabo and not Brian Flores. That's what Belichick exposed. He accidentally texted the wrong person and exposed the New York Giants. So, I mean, those are straight-up receipts. And then he cited other instances, which we've all known. I mean, we don't even have to run down the laundry list. We know that the NFL is historically discriminatory in their hiring practices. Mm-hmm. They don't hire black coaches, and when they do, they give them BS jobs, just like what I told y'all last week when we were talking about who should get the Saints job. I told you the coaches that I did not want to get the jobs because of this mere fact. Cully got the Houston job just as a fail stop, because they're like, we're going to give you 1 year, we're going to fire you. Hiring. And they did it. Yep. Like, we don't want them to get those jobs. Brian Flores had no business getting fired. He won 19 games in 2 seasons. The Dolphins have they've not experienced that kind of success since 02-03. Yep. And somehow you got rid of this man. It was despicable that you fired him, but it was just because that he did not agree with the ideals that you were going with. He was not going along with the nonsense that you had going on with other things that he actually pointed out. But I'm not going to go there yet, because that's actually the next piece of our whole topic on this. The only black head coach we've got right now is Mike Tomlin. And that's ridiculous. How is he possibly the only one?
Yep.
Eric Bieniemy can't get a job. Now you're talking about giving Byron Leftwich the job over in Jacksonville. Terrible job. Trevor Lawrence is not panning out. So, I mean, if he continues playing the way he's playing, Byron Leftwich won't be there long. You're not giving them the good jobs. And I heard a disturbing stat earlier today, this morning. They say that at least 14% of the current NFL head coaches are related to owners or other head coaches.
Jeez.
And then you got a whole nother percentage of the coaches. It's like, bro, it's nepotism times 1,000.
Damn.
That's what they're doing.
Oh,
They're interviewing the black coaches to satisfy the Rooney Rule.
Yeah.
But just like what they do in regular life, you know what it is. Yeah. You go on a job board and look at a search. When that job is posted, they posted it because they're legally required to post it. They already know who they're going to hire. They might interview you because, your resume looks good, but we're going to hire him, though, already. And that's exactly what it is in the NFL. It's disgusting. It's despicable. And it needs to be stopped. I applaud Brian Flores for falling on the sword in order to make a change.
Yeah. Yeah, highly agree with everything you just said there, Fees. So how big of a case does Flores actually have against the NFL? And I will side with you on that. He definitely does have a large case because we've seen this time and time again. I mean, I made a video on TikTok when my account was early on, and I specifically highlighted the amount of black coaches, the percentage actually of black coaches in the NFL, which was less than 20%, and the percentage of black GMs, which was less than 10% in the NFL. So as you get higher up the line, the diversity, if I can find my words here, obviously drops off. Now, he obviously has evidence. He has text. He is going out on a whim, kind of like a Colin Kaepernick vibe here. He obviously didn't stand for, the anthem because he wasn't going to, basically what the anthem was projecting, he didn't agree with, so that's why he did not stand for it. Brian Flores choosing to personally, yes, he was fired, which was absolutely stupid. Choosing to remove himself from the game, specifically stating that he understands that this can jeopardize his coaching career and everything that coaching has done for him and his family. He understands that because it's bigger than that to him. It's about actually, rectifying this, actually correcting it, making a change in the league. And it's going to be a long road. It's going to be a windy road. It's going to be very difficult. But I believe Brian Flores can cover some ground here. So he does have a big case against the league, no doubt about it. We've talked about this for years. We've talked about this for probably decades now in the NFL. The more we get into the game, unfortunately, the less and less that we see black coaches get hired. And as far as what do I see happening, I'll be honest, I don't see Flores winning the case because let's just be real. The NFL has more at their exposure. They have more money. They have more people. They have more willpower than Brian Flores does. Whether that is right or wrong, let's keep it real for a second. The NFL is clearly going to do everything that they possibly can. And I even think that they would resort to fake documents, fake reports, having something drafted up by someone that they would hire in to personally cover their asses, because we've said it before on the fees, on the show fees. Roger Goodell is a horrible commissioner, arguably the worst in sports next to Rob Manfred for the MLB. We continue to patronize the sport. And like we said, they will probably have to sacrifice a baby at midfield live on TV in order for us to quit watching. I mean, seriously, the NFL is so poorly ran. It would not surprise me if they had people in cahoots basically trying to cover themselves in this aspect. I am 100% behind Brian Flores because now it has went from player to coach. The next step will be GM. And even the next step will be owner if it obviously ripples down that far. So definitely an intense situation here. But another question now is, what should the NFL do about the Dolphins tanking situation, essentially giving Flores $100,000 checks to lose games?
I mean, that's like beyond despicable. They're offering money for him to coach the team into losing. Think the Dolphins should immediately be up for sale. No more ownership.
They were saying that in the chat earlier.
They should be up for sale, and it shouldn't even be a question. It needs to be just like the Clippers situation with Sterling. Make it like force him to sell the team. That's the only way to deal with that situation. And as far as Brian Flores and what his case should be, the NFL, they're going to settle. That will be the NFL taking an L.
Yep.
They're going to offer him a whole lot of money to settle because they don't want all of these records to come forward and everyone to know what they're doing. So it doesn't matter how much money he's asking for, they're going to give it to him. They're going to pay Brian Flores. They're going to get rid of Miami Dolphins ownership. The Dolphins will be up for sale. Everything is going to go up in smoke, and it's all going to be money.
Selling the team, Dolphins tanking, checks to actually lose. This is kind of difficult, man, because I feel like obviously the NFL has investigators. They have people out there. They have guys that are going to be, working on behalf of them, combing through teams, trying to crack down on stuff like this. But I mean, the question is, how could the NFL actually curtail this? Because, people say, oh, the league is rigged. The game is rigged. There's people in cahoots. And I even saw a comment here from Michael Fry. It is pretty sad that the NFL is 80% black players and, guys that are making money, putting fans in the stands, selling merchandise with only one black head coach. And obviously what they've done so far is clearly not enough to curtail this. But as far as the Dolphins specifically, we've had talks before about, what should the league do about teams taking? Should it be illegal? Okay, the checks obviously is a problem. Okay, coaches essentially on the sideline, behind the scenes, whatever it might be in the locker room, should not be getting offered money to lose games. And Brian Flores 100% did not do that. We've seen the last 2 seasons that he's had with Miami. That definitely has to be curtailed. But in terms of, stopping teams from tanking, I don't think that a team should go as far as being sold. If anything, let's talk about Washington being sold. Let's talk about the Texans being sold. Some people have talked about the Falcons being sold. But as far as, dealing with the Dolphins, how can you stop tanking? How do you know if a team is truly in their mind has the motive to tank?